Good afternoon. I'm Heather Bell. I am the president and CEO of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited today to welcome Jenna Gowers. She is the director of operations for Confluence Running. She's also a certified dynamic footwear specialist and a personal trainer, as well as a USATF certified running coach. And we are so fortunate to have her on our workplace wellness committee. Thank you for joining us today, Jenna.
I'm glad to be here.
Just to have a little bit of housekeeping as we begin, if you have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand. We'd be happy to interrupt at any time, or you can type it in and I'll be happy to read it for you. I'd like to thank all of our corporate partners for their support, as well as our board and our ambassadors and all of our members for being such a great part of our chamber. And just a couple of things that I'd like to share is that our Workplace Wellness Committee does on a weekly basis offer tips for wellness. Those can be found on our social media and in our Wednesday emails. Our Ask the Expert series is our HR expert offering advice from the human resources and legal perspective. And if you have anything you'd like her to answer, you can certainly find that information in the Monday emails. And our Meet the Members series is a great way to get to know our members. You can tune in on Mondays on Facebook Live, or you can always find these living on our YouTube channel, as you'll also find this recording. So without any further ado, Miss Jenna.
Yeah.
Let's talk about feet.
Okay. So I guess we'll have to go forward a couple of slides.
Okay. How's that one?
I got the same slide. Did it shift?
I have why do feet matter to overall health?
No, that's not what's showing for me.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see what's going on here.
I don't see any slides.
Nothing. Okay. I will stop sharing and reshare.
Here, let me try.
Okay.
Did that work?
Sure did. You see it, Mary Pat?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Perfect.
Is it changing for you?
Yep.
All right. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about taking care of your feet. My job has heavily involved helping people find footwear that's going to work well for their needs, whether it's at work or for fitness, or just getting from place to place. And so I'm just going to give an overview of that. But if you have any questions, if you're interested in hearing more about a topic that I kind of maybe glaze over or anything like that, you're absolutely welcome to go ahead and ask. So we'll get started. Today, I want to talk about a few things. So I'm going to talk about why feet matter to overall health. A little bit about shoes, what's good and what's bad and what's really bad. And along with the do's and don'ts. And then some strategies to keep your feet happy beyond that. And then things to think about as we age or as we change through life. So why do our feet matter to overall health? Well, I mean, obviously, if you need to be able to stand up, that's an important part, but everything's all connected. The entire back line of your leg, your hamstring, your calf muscles, and down into your foot, it's all connected. So when you're having some problems with your feet, it can cause issues with your knees. It can cause issues with your hips. It can cause issues with low back pain. And all of it's connected. So taking care of your feet becomes very important in terms of keeping the rest of your body healthy and able to do the things you want to do. As I said, it can affect your back and all of that, but it can also change your ability to balance. If your feet are not healthy, then you're going to be less stable on them. And then you really are not going to be able to maybe even walk around. I mean, I see a lot of people who come into our shops who, you know, just are having a hard time getting across their house, let alone staying fit. But really, if you think about it, your feet are really important for staying fit. What are all the suggestions for keeping fit incidentally, right? Go for a walk, take the stairs, park further away, you know, go for a run, go for like do Zumba. All of these require your feet to not be in pain. If you're in pain, you're not going to be able to be really healthy the way they encourage people to be in these even like incidental ways, like taking the stairs, because it's going to be difficult for you to accomplish. So we'll talk a little bit about shoes. Is there more to a shoe than how good it looks? Of course, we all know there is. Everybody's looking at, you know, if it's comfortable, will I be able to wear this all day? But when you really think about it, what things make it so that you can wear a shoe all day without pain? I am going to talk about high heels for a second, and you can see in the picture, you've got an x-ray of a woman in high heels, and you can see how just really tilted her whole foot anatomy is compared to what it would normally be. The way the toes are flexed upward like that, that's going to put tension on the plantar fascia. The way the heel is raised is going to shorten the Achilles tendon. Beyond that, it also shifts the bone structure forward so that now you're pushing your pelvis forward, you're arching your back differently. This is where you're going to get things like back pain, pelvic floor issues, which is where, you know, you're leaking a little bit when you sneeze, that kind of thing, which
Really?
is extremely common in women. People are very embarrassed about it, but it's really something that happens to the majority of women over their lifetime. And, you know, one of the things to start thinking about is you can sidestep that early on by avoiding high heels, or just, you know, wear them to the meeting and then take them off, put on something else.
So,
Probably the best thing. Go
Can I
ahead.
interrupt there?
Go ahead.
So that is really fascinating to me because I always attributed it to having lots of kids and just getting older, but literally wearing high heels can tilt your your pelvis to a degree that it can affect your ability to, what were those things we used to do, like your Kegels or whatever. That's wild.
It changes the function of the muscles in the hips as well, which are some of what kind of causes that whole pelvic floor to drop.
Huh.
But yeah, having kids will do it, will not help with it, we'll say. It'll start putting other pressures and, you know, put all those things together and you're going to have bigger issues. But there's lots of women who've never had kids who have pelvic floor issues.
Wow.
So things to look for in a shoe. I think the best thing that has happened to women in America in the last 5 years is probably that the ballet flat came back into style. Because it's a flat, you can get a rounded toe that gives you space for your toes to spread out a little bit. This is definitely helpful, but you can even put a small orthotic in it if you have a flatter foot and you need a little bit different kind of support. The other thing to think about is if you're going to be on your feet all day, you want a size bigger in shoe because your feet are going to swell over the course of the day. And maybe you start in one shoe and then halfway through the day, you have to switch your shoe to the bigger size. But when your feet swell, it's going to put pressure on your toes. That's going to pull on ligaments and put pressure on joints. And that's where you're starting to look at things like plantar fasciitis getting worse. Just that like dog tired foot feeling at the end of the day. When you're putting a lot of pressure, your muscles in your foot can't function the normal way. So other muscles have to take on that work. So having a little bit bigger shoe for when your feet start to swell really can make a difference for a lot of people in terms of foot pain. So what can you do now? Is it too late? Is it too late for all of this? Maybe if you're older or, so it's not. You can always start working on things. You want to work hard to keep your feet happy. So if you do wear, heels maybe to work, you want to look for ones that are going to have a little bit more space for your foot. There actually is a type of orthotic that you can find for high heels. I think Vivian Lew is a brand that makes an orthotic for heels if you have to wear heels to work. And what it does is it just takes that heel bone and tips it up so it's like straight in line with the bones in your calf and leg a little bit better. So it takes a little bit of the pressure off of your foot. Take them off. You can change out your shoes. If you're sitting at a desk, you don't need shoes on for that. You can take them off, stretch your toes, give them some space. You can not wear shoes at home if you are able to walk around and not be in pain that way. Some people are already past that where they kind of need something, but taking off a shoe and putting on, there are sandals out there that can help with arch support and stuff for someone who maybe needs that, or has plantar fasciitis and their feet really hurt if they're walking barefoot. Stretch multiple times a day. You can see the picture. This woman is stretching her calves. Calves are really important to stretch, and that helps your feet. It's all connected. The whole back of your leg down underneath your foot is all connected. So if you're stretching that and trying to keep that portion healthy, you're going to feel better overall. Your feet are going to be happier. You're going to be less prone to issues like plantar fasciitis, which is so common. Even things like pelvic floor issues, it can help with that because it's pulling, it's keeping your body from like shifting because of tightnesses. And then you can find a ton of foot and calf strengthening exercises on YouTube. There's some really great videos. There's a lot of physical therapists that have posted videos on YouTube that are really great exercises for your feet. Really, you can do about 5 minutes of stretching, maybe in the morning and then another 5 in the evening after you get home from work. And that can really help. And this is not just for women, men too. Men's dress shoes have a heel to them. And most people don't think about it, but a 1 or 2 inch heel still throws off your biomechanics and can shift everything to a different angle. So it's still worth considering stretching and all of that multiple times a day. And then, like I said, if you go onto YouTube, there's some really great foot and calf strengthening exercises, walking on your toes, walking on your heels, walking on the outside of your foot, walking on the inside of your foot, just like maybe for 10 seconds or 15 steps or something. And then also things like putting a towel underneath your foot and crunching up with your toes and getting those intrinsic muscles between the little bones in the foot moving a little bit, stretching those toes wide. A lot of people can't stretch their toes out, but our feet are really supposed to be functioning a little bit more like a hand. So when you're weight bearing with your hand, you're not doing it like this, and you're certainly not curling up your fingers at all to try and do a handstand or a push-up. You're gonna spread your fingers wide so you have more balance. Feet are a similar structure, and they're supposed to work the same way. But the problem is humans have been putting our children in shoes, and we've been wearing shoes our entire lives, and we end up with feet-shaped shoes. And shoes kind of function a little bit like a cast especially for a child, because it keeps your foot from being able to really move over all those surfaces and strengthen all those little muscles in between. So we lose that ability to some extent, and you can rebuild that by doing some work with these strengthening exercises.
I have a question, Jenna. Would these strengthening exercises help with the foot cramps and the leg cramps at night?
They could. I mean, I know a lot of people end up with that because of a magnesium calcium, like the wrong balance of magnesium and calcium. So sometimes like taking a magnesium supplement or something along those lines can help too. But it can't hurt to try. It's not going to make it worse, or it shouldn't.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about things that we want to think about as we age. Typically things like bunions and corns and all that kind of thing are things that we think about for old people. Those things can absolutely happen to younger people as well. And it can be, but your feet are going to change over time. And this is one of the reasons why it can be worse as you age. So what you want to think about is that your feet are going to change constantly. If you gain weight, your feet are going to spread out and get wider. They're going to have to support that weight. So you have a lot of little bones in there, you have a lot of ligaments, and you have a lot of cartilage in your foot. And when you gain weight, in order to support that weight, it has to spread. The ligaments loosen, and then suddenly your feet are longer because your arch has dropped. So when your feet get longer, like most adults don't think that their foot size is going to change. We don't measure year to year, and we're not really thinking about it, right? We're just like, well, I've always been a 7.5. And then we continue trying to cram our feet in a 7.5 a lot of times, you know. But frequently, especially in older people, you see people in shoes multiple sizes too small. And when it happens so slowly over time, it kind of tricks your brain. Your brain thinks this is how a shoe is supposed to feel. And you think your feet are in pain, but you don't necessarily connect it to the shoe being wrong. You just think your feet are bad, or you're getting older, or whatever. But it is something that's worth checking consistently, because even if you start working out, you get with a personal trainer, you start doing a lot of hip exercises, that can make your arch raise, and then your foot is smaller. And if you lose weight, you may change size too. So it's one of those things, kind of like bra size. You want to check it pretty consistently. Pants size, you want to check pretty consistently and make sure that it all works well. And so for a sneaker, which is what I'm usually talking about, most people are in too small a sneaker, like way too small. The size that you measure to on the Brannock device, which is that device that you see in shoe stores that you stand on, you move the things around, that shows you your foot size, but typically you want a 1.5 to 2 sizes bigger for a sneaker.
Wow.
So I measure to a 7.5 on the Brannock device. I wear an 8.5 to a 9. It depends on the brand. But that Brannock device came out in the early 1900s, and they haven't changed it since. And shoes have changed. The industry is different. And I know in sneakers, a lot of times within a brand, different models will be different sizes, like they just run different. And it's from the factory, or it's from like the fit that they think that customer wants, or whatever it is. Sometimes if a shoe's just cut a little narrower, it'll make your foot be pushed a little longer. So when you're trying on sneakers, what you want to do, the easiest way to tell, put the sneaker on, stand up, because when you stand up, your arch compresses and it gets longer. Then bend over and put your thumb down on the tip of the shoe, like covering the end of the shoe. Then lift your toe up just until it hits your thumb. If it hits your thumb, it should be just bumping the edge of your thumb. If it's underneath your thumb, you need a bigger size. This is almost everyone, and we find this so common. And in runners, in people who run marathons, or even, you know, shorter distances, 5Ks, they'll end up with black toenails. They'll end up with toenails falling off from this. if you go online to maybe like a running Facebook group, people are like, how many toenails are you sporting? Like it's some kind of badge of honor. But what it means is that they're in too small a shoe. Almost always. I mean, occasionally it can be from like gripping funny with your toes, but most of the time it's from too small a shoe. And nobody really wants their toenails to fall off, right? So make sure you're in the right size and check it year to year. Anytime you're buying a new pair of shoes, go ahead and check the size. In a dress shoe, you're going to be closer to that size on the Brannock device, but you still want to have a little wiggle room there. You don't want it to be skin tight, because then as soon as you're standing for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, your feet swell and now you're going to be putting pressure on your foot. Beyond that, use it or lose it. If you don't use your feet, if you don't let your feet do those exercises, if you don't walk barefoot in your backyard your muscles will completely just stop working, basically. Like it will be difficult for you to engage them at all, because the pathways for your nerves kind of stop working. They decide, oh, this isn't something we do. So they kind of die off. Die off is the wrong term. They're not actually dead, but they just don't work anymore. So that's where physical therapy comes in, where you're trying to re-engage the bio pathways so that you can actually engage that muscle in your foot, just the little ones in between your bones that kind of just don't get used when you're in a shoe all the time. So I definitely recommend practicing that. And maybe it's yoga. Yoga is great for that. They practice a lot of like spreading your toes and planting in the earth. But also just, walk barefoot across your backyard sometimes, let your foot have to go around shapes on the ground and function in the way that it's really meant to. And then the other thing is either pay now, as in buy footwear that's gonna do the trick for you, or pay later where your feet really hurt and you maybe need surgery for bunions or whatever it is. It's worth investing in the footwear for sure. All right, that's what I've got today. Do we have any questions? I know we asked questions in the mid talk. So
is this a good time to make a shameless plug for Confluence Running? I'm currently under my desk sporting my new UFOs. Am I saying that right? UFO
Yeah.
sandals.
Yeah, those are one of those types of sandals that you can wear that have the arch support to them. And they're soft enough that if you have plantar fasciitis, you can wear them, but still give your toes space to move.
I found them to be wonderful, but a couple of the things that you said, I literally took them off and I'm standing barefoot on my floor trying to spread my toes, and they are stubbornly refusing, like they just won't.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty common.
Yeah, so the exercises that you were mentioning, those should help that, or?
Yeah, there's a lot of exercises, and you can probably even just Google exercises to help you wiggle your toes. But it may take in the beginning some actually moving it with your hands, or like touching your toe with your hand to kind of like help your brain recognize what's supposed to be happening.
Wow.
But yeah, or physical therapy. I mean, a physical therapist should be able to help you with that too.
Okay.
I'm gonna double down on your plug, Mary Pat. So my brother has got plantar fasciitis, and I spoke to Jenna offline a couple of weeks ago about the plantar fasciitis, and he's now doing the exercises that she recommended. We took him over to Confluence. They put him in the correct size. Another one, just like myself, that was wearing the incorrect size. I think they're called Hoka. Is that how you pronounce it? Sneakers. And he went back to work and told his boss, I understand the dress code, but I'm not taking the sneakers off that my sister bought me. They're staying on. If you want me here, that's what I'm wearing.
Yeah, plantar fasciitis is so common, and more common is that people are in the wrong shoe size. I mean, 9 times out of 10, that's what I'm talking to a customer about. And the ones that come in that are in the right size usually have been in before.
I have to say, you know, often we stop and think about specialty stores as, oh my God, it's just so overpriced. You don't stop to think about the quality of the staff, the education of the staff, what they can offer to you as the consumer with their knowledge base. And that is absolutely what I found with Confluence, and what I tell everybody that I talk to about the organization, that it is a knowledge-based organization. It's not just your typical shoe store. So thank you so much for finding the correct business model to deliver this.
Absolutely. I
And
agree
the
with
really
you
cool
there, Heather.
thing, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I agree with Heather on that one. I've been in multiple times and just gotten really great feedback and really great answers to my questions. And I'm currently sporting sneakers that I never ever thought I would be wearing. And I call myself a runner. I run. I have a run streak going of 503 days now,
Wow.
but only just at least a mile a day. But having done that, my feet are saying, hey, yo, what are you doing here? So I definitely, I went in, I bought the OOFOS, and I'm doing things to take better care, because I ain't getting any younger, and neither are my feet. So,
Yeah.
so I'm so grateful that you guys are right there within walking distance of my home and my business, where I work. So.
Oh, that's great.
I have
That's
a
great.
question.
That's
that
great to hear.
came in, Jenna. It's what's the best shoe for people in the medical field, people that are on their feet for 12-hour shifts?
Okay. So we actually work with nurses a lot at Confluence Running. We have, the answer is always going to be, it depends on your foot, because some people need certain types of support and other people need other types of support. So if you need a rotational support, it's going to be a different model than if you don't. And then there's also going to be the shape of the shoe related to the shape of your foot can matter pretty dramatically. But I would say probably the favorite, honestly, for the nurses that we've worked with is usually the Hoka high cushion shoe. So either the Bondi or the Gaviota. The Bondi is the neutral model. If you need to have something that's cleanable, which I know a lot of nurses wear sneakers, but some can't, they need to have something that, doesn't have stuff falling through the mesh. They do make it in a leather as well, which would be cleanable, but that one's super popular with the nurses that I've worked with. I know that there's other models that have done well. I know Dansko has like a thing going. I don't like having that arch under my foot and it makes my foot cramp, but other people do. And so it really comes down to what feels good for you. But the nice thing about Dansko is that they do encourage having more space around your foot as well. So I think that's an option for sure. I wouldn't go with Crocs. There's not a lot of cushion underneath them. Just because that's not really what they're about. I have a pair of Crocs sandals myself that I like, but I don't know that I would use them for standing on my feet for 12-hour shifts.
I have another question for you, Jenna. Does Confluence still do the Learn How to Run program?
We're just kind of in a transition right now because Chloe went to grad school. So we have a new manager coming on, and I'm not sure if he's planning to take it on or not. It might be in the spring.
Okay. All right. So for anybody that's watching this, keep an eye on their Facebook page, because that's where they were promoting it. And it was a great 8-week learn how to go from the couch to being a runner. And it was free. It was a great opportunity. So
we're also always happy to help brand new runners, or someone who's just starting a walking program. Most people think, oh, I don't think I can go into a running store because I'm not that much of a runner. But really, most of our customers are either people coming straight from their podiatrist with, maybe they can barely walk and they have a cane. People who are taking that first step and they're learning that maybe their shoes aren't really working well for them and they're having problems, and their friends are like, hey, go to these people, they can help you. Or people taking that next step, they're going from running 5Ks to running half marathons, and they want to get some advice on how to do that kind of thing. So we work with a lot of beginners, we work with a lot of non-runners, nurses, as I said, and probably 50% of our business is from non-runners. So don't be afraid to come in, we can always help.
All right, sounds great.
And
Any
there's
other
cool
questions?
Taco Tuesdays too, right?
Yes. Taco Tuesday is fun.
One
If
of
you're a
these
runner, come to Taco Tuesday.
All right, tell me about Taco Tuesday.
It's just a group run. We go for a run.
I might just become a runner for Taco Tuesday.
You just go for a run, and then we go over to
El Rancho, right?
one of the Mexican restaurants in town. El Rancho.
El
We
Rancho.
go. And they have phenomenal tacos, and it's like $10 for 5 tacos and a margarita or something on Tuesdays, and it's totally worthwhile. They have great tacos. I went to Mexico for my honeymoon a few weeks ago, and their tacos were good, but El Rancho's were better, and I feel very weird about that.
Wow. All right. That's a great plug. All right. Any other questions for Jenna? Thank you so much for your time and your talent sharing that with us, Jenna. And her contact information is on the screen, jenna@confluencerunning.com. And let's give her a great congratulations for her recent nuptials. Her and Matt from Confluence are now married. Congratulations, Jenna.
Thank you.
Congrats.
All right. Thank you, Jenna. And thank you for all that
you.
joined. And again, we have recorded this and it will be on our YouTube channel.